As it stands right now, these are the things that I would love to make this fall. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name's Jacque and this is Jacque is Making, a place where I talk all about the knit garments that I'm creating. And today I have for you a video all about my autumn knitting plans. So far, I've really dialed it down. I've created my exact queue in Ravelry, and I've went so far as to select the yarns that I'm gonna use, the pattern kind of like order in which I'm gonna make them. And I've just been looking forward to fall for a really long time. So I know that we're literally in the throes of summer and all of us are summer knitting, and I'm right there with you. I still have on a cumulus tee, a sabai top, and I am just like going through the summer with my summer fibers and really enjoying it, but I cannot wait to cast on wool again. So I really wanted to start knitting for fall a little bit earlier than maybe some of the other creators here on YouTube are doing. I found that like so often I'm creating things and then I'm only getting to wear them for a couple of weeks before the season turns, because that's really the nature of knitting. Knitting takes so long to do that you want to make sure you're giving yourself some leeway to actually get to wear it. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts and plans with this video, is to show you guys how thorough I've been in planning this out and just sharing it with you to show you what are my plans for this fall season on my knitting channel. And so really I'm making this with the notion that these are the things I'm planning for right now, but life is life and things change. And I also have things coming up. I have trips coming up where I'm sure I'll be going to yarn stores. I have Wisconsin sheep and wool later in the fall, and there's things that come up that you just get excited about and that you see. I don't even know about the things that I don't know, like what patterns are going to be released, and is there going to be a new yarn line, or is Indie Dyer going to release a collection that I just have to have? You know, you can't prepare for those things, but as it stands right now, these are the things that I would love to make this fall. So 100%, the first thing that I need to make this fall is a sweater for my husband. I am one of those wives that started knitting, and we're coming up on a year of me knitting, and I've just been so excited about making my handmade wardrobe that I actually haven't made him anything yet. And he is so incredibly knit-worthy. He is one of those men who's just like pretty meticulous. He loves to pick out like clothes, and when he does pick out clothes, he picks out good quality brands and he cares about what he wears. And so I just know if I make him something, he will take great care of it. He will cherish it and love it. So honestly, like one of the most knit-worthy persons I can think of in my life, for sure. And him and I are actually gonna have our 10-year wedding anniversary in August. So it's absolutely time for me to make him something to like really honor that. So this is Wild Barn yarn, and this is a 100% Romaldale wool. So when I bought this yarn, they actually had little tubs that had the name of each sheep on it. And the name of this sheep in particular, her name was Brooklyn. And I was just so excited to pick something out for my husband. So the pattern that I'm going to be making for him with this yarn is going to be the Zipper Sweater Man by Petite Knit. This girl, Brooklyn, she was obviously very, very soft, and I'm really excited that he's just gonna have a garment made from one sheep. I think that's so cool. I also am excited about the potential for me to steal this garment. I love the zipper sweater. I think it's such a classic style. It's one of those styles that never goes out of style, so that's really what drew me to this pattern. I also could see him wearing this. He loves to golf. I could see him wearing this on a very early tea time. Say it's like a 7:30 tea time. You're cold for a couple holes and then you take it off. I really could see him wearing it like that. I also could see him wearing it in the winter, like underneath his vest he likes to wear. So yeah, and his vest he wears is black. So I felt like this would be just really special and really cute in that application. And then the only other thing with the zipper sweater is I'm not really sure yet what zipper to use. I know a lot of people use the actual like petite knit zipper. She sells zippers on her website. So I'm considering that. I'm sure I can find a dupe somewhere. And there's other garment zippers. I actually love to sew and use like bag zippers. So I have a lot of really fun like striped and cool and weird zippers, I would say, but I don't have a lot of garment zippers, and I'd love to use something special like that petite knit one. So yeah, the zipper sweater Man by Petite Knit is gonna be my first fall project that I absolutely like. If there's only one project I finish in fall, I feel like for my husband, for our 10-year, it needs to be that one. The next pattern that I have to share with you guys is actually a test knit, and I just got approved for this by Leslie Howard, otherwise known as Knit California, here on YouTube and on Instagram. And she recently just designed a sweater called the California Sweater, which is like so aptly named for her username. And it is so cool. Like, I immediately signed up for this test knit because Leslie was really inspired by the Lento sweater's gauge. If you've watched my podcast, you've seen me talk about the Lento sweater. I loved making the Lento sweater. It knit up so fast because it's a really open gauge. You're using usually a fingering weight plus a lace weight yarn held together, and then you're using a big needle size, so a 6mm needle, a US 10, and it just goes by so quickly, and it creates this, with the mohair, it creates a gauge that's still like filled in. It's not at all like super gapey, and it's just like the perfect serotonin project. It's quick, it's fast, it's super wearable, and drapey and beautiful. So what Leslie did is she was very inspired by that pattern. She is actually the reason why I cast it on in the first place, because I loved her video on it. But she was inspired by that video, and of course inspired by all of her other knits as well. Leslie has knit a ton of drop shoulder sweaters, so I'm assuming that really inspired her as well. And she designed this pattern that is kind of like a Lento-y gauge, and it just looks like such a staple, but also kind of trendy with that drop shoulder. So absolutely, this is gonna be one of my autumn makes because I'm in the test knit, I have to finish it. So, you know, I talked about my priority is that zipper sweater, but honestly, this one is probably gonna get done first because it's that big gauge and because I'm in a test knit. So on my podcast, you're gonna be seeing me talk about it because I'm gonna be working on it while I'm finishing up those summer knits. But for that California sweater, I bet you're so excited to see the yarn that I selected it for it, you guys, is gorgeous. So the first yarn that I will be using for it, I'm gonna be holding two together, is a hand dyed that I have, and this is For Crow Fibers. This is a local dyer to me, and she dyes this black and white and dyed all over line, and it's a fingering weight line that is an 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon. It's a 400 yards per 100 gram skein. And what's unique about these skeins in particular is they have these like black and white spun like element going through the whole thing. So every single skein that's like this will have that like stripey element going through it. It's so unique, and I've never seen another dyer do it before. When I'm going to different vendors, I'm always looking to see, and I've just never seen anything like it. So I was immediately drawn to this, and like, look at these gorgeous fall colors. I mean, it has oranges, yellows, greens. It also has like this tinge of aqua. And when you're looking at it, all I can see is like crushed up leaves. So I knew that I wanted to use this because I had about 4 skeins in my collection that I had just been waiting to use, waiting for the right project to come along. And I knew I wanted to hold it with a mohair, because with my Lento, I had used a Surrey, loved it, but I just wanted to try with a mohair this time for Leslie's pattern. And I went to my local yarn store, and it was one of those situations where I was literally laying out the yarn everywhere, pairing different fingering weights with mohairs. I had them all laid out. I was texting my friends, please help me. I have this like group chat with some Madison knitters, and it's just really fun to see everybody's like opinions and everything in there, of course. We always say, like, if you're on a break from buying yarn, or you're just, you're not buying yarn this month, it's so fun to vicariously buy through your friends. But when I was in there, I was so excited. My local yarn store started carrying Knitting for Olive mohair. And what's cool about my store actually is they don't have every color of every yarn, but they really supplement to fit in the gaps. So it's like there's all these different brands of mohair in this shelf, but they never repeat the same color. It's just so cool. But what's awesome about Knitting for Olive is hands down their colors. They have colors that are just so unique. It's never a stock color. It's always very clearly thought out. So I picked out this color, and this is their soft silk mohair in the shade Dusty Robin. It is just so good. They actually had a Knitting for Olive shade that was like a bright orange too, and I felt like it just wouldn't be as sustainable for me. I wouldn't get as much wear out of it as I would this. I'm calling it like a peach. I would say it's a rusty peach if I had to describe. And honestly, just look at it with this. Oh, it is knitting up so beautifully. I can't wait to show you guys in my podcast what it's looking like. The swatch turned out absolutely beautiful, and I'll be casting on soon. And yeah, it's gonna be so cool. So stay tuned for that. That project is like the epitome of fall. That is gonna be my crushed leaves, like, oh, the fall of all fall sweaters. I cannot wait for it. So with fall too comes, of course, when you start wearing socks again. It's like in fall, that's when the sandals go bye-bye. That's when you start wearing boots and more tennis shoe days. So I'm sure I will be inspired to knit up some socks. And I found a couple of patterns that I'm thinking about doing. One pattern in particular is Autumn Fires by La Maison de Saba. Sorry if I didn't pronounce that right. It is just a beautiful lace work, like leaf pattern. And I love the idea of, like, I've done vanilla socks. Right now I'm doing a textured sock. I'm making the Hermione's Everyday Socks. And then the idea of like next doing a lace sock. So kind of like working my way, and then maybe I'll do cabled for winter. Wouldn't that be like a really fun progression? And just kind of seeing like, what do I like the best? What do I like wearing? Or do I just always like switching it up? But yeah, that pattern's really been inspiring me. All I know is that's in my queue for right now, but in general, I want to be making a fall sock, probably in a lace sort of motif. And what I'm thinking is for sure I'm going to have a skein left over of this 4 Crow fibers. So like if I wanted a matchy situation, maybe I would do like some socks in this that would kind of go with the sweater, and just be kind of fun. And maybe I would do like a heel and a brown or something to make it just a little bit different. So that's one of my options. Another option I have is actually at a retreat I went to last year. Again, 4 Crow Fibers. They actually gave us a free skein when we walked through the door because it was I think it was the weekend before Halloween. And so this was kind of like our door prize, was this yarn. And I mean, look at this. Does this just like scream fall Halloween or what? It is, again, that black and white and dyed all over, that exact same fingering weight, but it has like the purples and the oranges, and it's so cool. It's so cool. Let's see if I can show you this way too. Yeah. So yeah, if I do decide to make the socks in the skein from my California sweater as well, then maybe what I would do with this is make like a hat. Like this would make such a cool muscle burra hat too for Halloween. So stay tuned. Fall, at least I know, will equal those skeins in some sort of regard. Okay, so next we have a staple sweater, the Olga Sweater by Petite Knit. And earlier this year, I did a showcase on my YouTube comparing different comparing different striped sweater patterns. And I did that because stripes are just such a classic. You can pair them with anything. I can just picture myself matching them with so many different outfits in my wardrobe. And I've never knit stripes before, so that was really inspiring to me. And this pattern in particular stood out to me because it looked like a little bit vintage, a little bit like a sweatshirt. Like I loved the oversizedness of it. And I loved the way the Peer Gynt kind of like, it definitely like holds its memory and it stands up and it's not super drapey. And I love that look about it. And it would just be so cute for fall. I can see myself wrapping it around my shoulders, wearing it at night when it gets a little chilly. Looks like the perfect outfit to wear to like a bonfire. So yeah, I'm really, really excited about it. But the one thing I can't decide is what color I want to make it in. Part of me really loves the colors that Petite Knit picked out, like for her sample photos. I love that the like grayish, whitish tone has a little bit of like fleck to it. But the other day when I was shopping on Free People, they have their really popular striped sweatshirt. You've probably seen the dupe on Amazon as well if you're an Amazon shopper. It's way cheaper than the Free People one. But I saw this sweatshirt and the colors, I was like, oh, that's for sure. Like if I was to, this is me. If I'm shopping online, I'm always like adding a million things to my cart and then I never buy it. It's a pastime for me. It's really fun. But I was like, yeah, add to cart. That's the one I would want, is the like beige and black one. It'd be so cute. Add to cart. I could see it with so many outfits. And immediately my brain went screenshot. That would be perfect for the Olga sweater. So I'm kind of, deciding between like her colors, that navy and grayish tweed, or a black and beige. Like, I don't know. I don't know what to pick yet. Both of them I could see myself wearing for multiple seasons. That's something I try to think about when I'm choosing colors. So not sure exactly what yarn I'm gonna buy for that yet, but I know for sure I wanna make it in Peer Gynt, and that's the stripe pattern I want to make. Next I have for you the Burra Cowl by Marie Wallin. And I was really inspired by this because of one of my favorite YouTubers, The Woolly Worker. Her name's Venetia. And she has been doing this like magnum opus knit along. And it's a knit along where you finally make something that you've been just like wanting to make forever, that seems kind of daunting, and you just go after it. And so for her, she's making the Yell cardigan by Marie Wallin. And I think honestly, if you were to ask me, Jackie, what is your magnum opus knit? 1000% it's that cardigan as well. That is stunning. That is what I need. That, when would I feel accomplished? I would feel accomplished when I made that. I just cannot even imagine the pride I would feel wearing that around, being like, I made that. So I don't think I'm ready quite yet. I have made a total of 2 colorwork sweaters. So what I thought would be perfect is to make one of Marie Wallin's patterns first, get myself like warmed up to it, because what if I hate her designs? What if I hate making it? I don't want to buy all this yarn, all these, like go through all of this process in my mind and then not actually be that into it, because that cardigan from Marie Wallin, that Yell cardigan, could honestly take you half a year, if not longer. It probably takes some people a full year. So anyways, I was like, you know what would be an incredible idea is to make this cowl, because it's still using that Jamieson's Shetland wool in that fingering weight. I'm getting to see, do I like her patterns? Do I like knitting color work in a fingering weight? I've never done that before. Am I liking the colors she's pairing together, and so on and so forth? So yeah, I'm really, really excited to try this out. I think this would be something beautiful to wear. I would probably finish it as fall is nearing its end, right in time for winter. And I think I would use her exact colors, honestly. I think that they're just so beautiful, and she clearly has an eye for selecting color and knowing color theory, and I would be a little bit afraid if I were to just like completely choose my own that it might not mesh as perfectly. You know, what I will probably do is go through some of the project pages and see if there's any colors that steer me in a little bit of a different direction, but all in all, like, I want to make that as is with her yarn she recommends, and I just cannot wait. Okay, so next, one that you guys have probably been waiting for if you watched my last episode. During that, I asked, my question of the week was, what would you guys use with a 100% alpaca sport weight yarn? And this is actually the yarn that I have here. And this yarn I got from Alpaca Fest in Madison, Wisconsin. And I have 3 of these. They're each 660 yards. And oh my God, every time I get it out, I am just like in love with it. But what was cool about me asking that question, and thank you so much to all of you that listed patterns down below. It was more helpful than you can even know, because even if you just said one pattern, a lot of the times they were designers I hadn't necessarily looked at before, and I clicked the designer and I was able to see just a slew of patterns. But one pattern in particular that someone posted, I'll put their comment up here, thank you so much. They recommended the Cardi Cocoon by Anne Vensel. And what's funny is I actually just had a friend make this in a navy color. She made hers a little bit more cropped. But looking at this and looking at the texture, I hadn't had anything in my queue yet that was really cable-y. And this is, you know, this is a slight cable, but it's something that looks like it's gonna give a little bit more structure to this alpaca yarn by having those little cables in it. And then I'm gonna hold it with the mohair. Not sure what mohair yet. I'm kind of thinking, I'm really loving this Knitting for Olive mohair, so I'm kind of thinking that. I'm also open to the idea of trying out the Issayer mohair. Haven't tried that yet. And I'm also interested in trying out the Sandnes Garn Tin Silk mohair, just because it has a little bit of wool in it, and it may give this that little bit more of structure that I want. So I'm not really sure. I might toy around, look at colors, think about what to do for that. But I just think that cardigan was such a good recommendation, because if it's too drapey and flowy, it's still gonna look good in that sort of pattern. And with as much yarn as I have a good amount. I can make it as long as I need before I bind off. And yeah, I have been kind of dreading this yarn. It's been one of those where I'm like, oh, should I have bought that? Why did I buy that? And now that I know I'm gonna make this pattern with it, I can't wait. I think it's gonna be such a staple garment in my wardrobe. It's one of those where, like, I think long cardigans are a little bit millennial-y stated these days, at least by Gen Z. And maybe so, but in the same regard, a long cardigan is never truly gonna go out of style, because it's so functional, especially in a Wisconsin winter, to just wrap up. Also, I love a long cardigan with a dress. And I love to wear dresses in the winter too, with like tights. I think it's just such a fun outfit with a really cool boot. So I can just see myself wearing it in so many regards. And thank you again so much to this commenter for this pattern. I think it's gonna be epic, and I can't wait to showcase it on my channel. Okay, we have 2 more. And like I said, if we don't get to these, we'll just make them in the winter. So, you know, of course, I'm going to be a little overzealous, but not by too much. My one is just like a mention. I'm not sure. This is the one I'm honestly the least sure about. This is the Battenberg Blanket by Sandra Paul. And the reason why I bring this up is because every single fall, and by every single, I mean this will be my third time doing it. My husband always makes fun of me because I always say always, and sometimes it's only I've literally done it twice. This will be my third fall watching Gilmore Girls again, and I say that because I'm already excited to restart. One thing about me, I love stories about schools and like little communities and just like fall and like Ivy Leagues. Like, what is better with Gilmore Girls? And they love coffee and they have such a beautiful relationship, and oh, I just cannot wait. But the past 2 years, I've always done like projects while I'm watching Gilmore Girls. And the first year I did it, I crocheted this like beautiful pillow for my mom. And so I love the idea of doing crochet again while I'm watching Gilmore Girls. And I've been looking for a while for a pattern that I can use up some scraps for and just make a scrappy project with. So this was the first one that came to mind for me as I was searching Ravelry that I thought would be perfect because I love the like breaking up of the colors with the white interspersed. And these are basically just granny squares broken out. And I would just go through my stash. And what I'm thinking is, I think this is a fingering weight pattern. Maybe I would make the granny squares in a way that I'm holding it double fingering weight, so that way I could use some of my heavier weights. Like, then I could use a DK or worsted if I had one in other squares. Dunno, still thinking about it. But just know, in the queue for me is some sort of plain granny square that's gonna make a blanket that I'm gonna use with scraps and is just gonna be a really fun project for me to use up the things that I already have. Okay, and then lastly, I have just been dying to make a baby knit. I have a friend, Courtney, who loves making baby knits. She said that it's so satisfying because you cast something on and it goes so fast and it's so adorable and so cute. And of course, at my age, I have tons of friends having babies or they have babies who could use a beautiful sweater. So I was just looking at different patterns, and of course, there's so many by Pernille Larsen of Knitting for Olive. They started off like making baby knits and they have so many cute ones. But I also loved so many of Petite Knits as well. And what was cute about a lot of the ones she had is they're like mini versions of bigger sweaters she has. And so this one I found is the Moby Sweater Baby by Petite Knit. And I just loved that this had some cables and some texture in it. It is worked up in a DK weight yarn, so it's gonna go really fast. I mean, you're using US 7 4.5 millimeter needles and using a DK weight yarn, and just those big chunky cables and the texture. I just pictured this being so fun to work on, something that's quick and that I would just get to have and get to gift to someone. So I have a couple babies in my mind that I'm thinking I would make them for, but my idea with this is to make this and kind of just like have it as a gift to give. So I don't really have a baby in mind to give this to, but I really, really love the idea of making some baby patterns and just like keeping them in stock for when I need a gift for a baby. You always know a baby that needs a gift, and babies are just special, and I think they deserve handmade items a little bit more than adults do sometimes. And it's just the cutest. Like, if you make a garment for a baby, that parent is going to take a million pictures of them in it, versus if you make something for an adult, I don't know how many selfies they would get you, but maybe you would get more selfies of a baby. I'm not sure. But yeah, so that's kind of my idea with that. I am excited about that one. I would say maybe that one's the least likely to get made, but I'm also really excited about the potential of how quick it would be. So maybe it'll move up faster in the queue than I think. Okay, so that is my fall knitting plans. I hope that this video inspired you in some way, whether it was the yarn or the patterns that I discussed. If you're new to my channel and you're interested in seeing these patterns being worked up, please click subscribe down below and like this video to let me know you like seeing these type of videos and you're excited about all the things I'm gonna cast on this fall. I would also love to hear anything that you guys think I'm missing from my queue or anything that you're excited to make this fall. As always, thank you guys so much for being here, and I can't wait to see you next week for a new podcast episode. Have a great rest of your week. Bye-bye.